The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and the man seated next to me has made a career out of racing emus. His name is Mike Roth.
I love emus. You know their voice, that noise?
No,
That's how you dealt. Well, trust me.
Okay.
It's a thing. I just saw.
You're the man who races
I went to
them.
a farm recently, and I got to listen to the different emus. You could tell the difference of the sex by that rattling noise. When you race them and they start making that, it's like riding a raptor.
Wow.
It's fantastic. You get the wind in your hair and lots of people throwing things at you because of cruelty towards animals, which I totally understand.
I want that to be the tagline for our show. It's like riding a raptor. Real Reviews.
It's like riding a raptor. Well, they make it's exact same noise. It's fantastic. And also the noise of the things from the underworld of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
That's an emu.
Ooh, Stranger Things.
So
New season
there's
coming
your
out.
emu facts.
I like that a lot.
It makes it seem like your fact about me is more legit.
It really does. You had way more information than I was planning on. So this week, we are celebrating the end of the first half of 2019 by looking back and talking about our favorite movies from the first half of the year. But before we get into our list, of course, we have to talk about what we have on the marquee this week. The first movie we have, sir, is the newest film from director Danny Boyle. It is a film called Yesterday, starring Himesh Patel as Jack Malik. Jack is a struggling singer-songwriter of no acclaim, and suddenly unexplained events happen globally that kind of plunge Jack and a couple of others into an alternate timeline, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm still uncertain about how this whole premise works.
It just everything that was major in a certain area is just gone. So there's no cigarettes. It's never been invented.
Right.
No Harry Potter. No
But
Beatles.
some people remember things,
Yeah.
and that's where it comes in. So, but we're in this timeline in which some well-known things, like you said, have never existed, notably the Beatles. Jack plays Yesterday for a group of friends and blows them away with his new song, never before heard song. And he is now faced with the moral conundrum of being honest or living his dream of success and superstardom. And he chooses the latter and rockets to superstardom off the backs of the Beatles songs. And there's a fun little thing in here which I kind of enjoyed where he struggles to remember the lyrics to the songs so that he can steal from them. But it's a lot of like, what did Father Mackenzie do? What was he doing? Just, things would jog his memory, like there's a Beatles lyric. And the movie turns into a bit of a jukebox musical where we're just kind of playing all the Beatles songs and following him along. And like you said, there's other things that don't exist. Because there's no Beatles, there can be no Oasis, which, thank you. There's no Coca-Cola, Harry Potter, no cigarettes. None of this is explained.
No. Just things that are all of a sudden gone.
Completely unexplained. And as he rockets to superstardom, he also loses the lady who has always loved him, had a crush on him for years and years and years, played by Lily James. And he realizes that he loves her too, but it might be too late because he has to decide between superstardom and love. I'm not sure why he has to decide. That's never quite makes sense to me. But he has to decide. We also have Kate McKinnon shows up as
Deborah Hammer.
Deborah Hammer. We also have Ed Sheeran in here.
Plays.
Ed Sheeran.
Yes.
Who kind of discovers him and helps make him the pop star that he is. And then it basically turns into the story of the conundrum of, do you live, get your dreams but be miserable because you're a fraud and you're basically stealing someone else's ideas and making it off as your own? Do you have a conscience or not?
Well, at the same time, they also address the importance of these songs. And I love the Beatles. The Beatles are great. I could get teary-eyed listening to some of those songs still. I've listened to them a billion times. And he has this also problem. Yeah, it's shooting him off to superstardom, but also is he preserving these songs so the world can hear it? And that's something that gets repeated a couple of times through these movies, that this is art, and he is able to not only launch his career, but also expose the world to these fantastic songs. And you could tell with the frustration, a lot of times he desperately needs to get these out because he needs other people to hear it.
Right.
Also comes with a lot of money and success.
Sure, that doesn't hurt.
I liked the battle he had between, and this is not a new story at all. Do you choose fame and fortune and all the power that comes with it, or are you a real person?
Right. Do you choose your true self?
Do you choose? And that is something that I see a lot in movies, but coupled with lots of Beatles songs, all of a sudden this makes it an extremely good movie for me.
I think it was a really, really interesting idea. Like, I think it's just a brilliant idea, and that drew me in right away. And I liked a lot of it, and it showcases just how great the music is.
Yeah.
What I wanted them to dig a little more into was the strength of the songs. Was the music so great? Did it make the Beatles who they were and who everyone loves? Would it have been the same if it was just some schlubby, Indian guy playing the music? Would he have been the superstar? I kind of want a little more of that. I thought that the romance angle just wasn't strong enough for me. Like, they it didn't feel like they had a real chemistry to me. That they, here's a guy who she's been his best friend since they were kids.
Yeah.
He's never had a romantic feeling for his entire life until it's too late. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, sometimes.
That's right. And then it felt clumsily wrapped up to me. There was one other thing towards the end where we get a version of one of the Beatles makes an appearance in the movie. And I thought for a split second, I was like, wow. And then I felt that the scene wasn't fleshed out enough. Like, that scene just kind of did it went nowhere for me.
There was some awkwardness about it. A lot of it was the makeup.
Yeah.
The makeup was horrible.
At first glance, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then as the scene went on, I was like, oh.
And also the whole premise of this is actually happening. That would not happen in real world scenario with most people. But I liked how they threw that in because it gave you the whole, okay, maybe it's not so sad that the Beatles were ever.
It's interesting to me too that none of the other Beatles were really referenced. There was no thanks to Paul and Ringo. There was no mention of that in the credits or anything. I was like, oh, kind of odd. But then I thought, well, the Beatles don't even control their music anymore. So
sure,
Paul can just be like, I don't have anything to say about this.
Yeah.
He didn't. I tell you another character I liked in this movie was his buddy Rocky, played by Joel Fry. I liked him a lot. I thought he was pretty cool. I thought I knew who this character was at first glance, and he had a little more depth to him as the movie went on. I liked him a lot.
One thing that I was trying to struggle with is, because I love the Beatles so much, would this movie work with any other band? If it was like, let's say, the Rolling Stones, and all he did was play Rolling Stones music, would I have liked this movie as much? I don't think I would have.
I think it's the perfect band.
I think
the Beatles is the perfect band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great choice. One of the things that was weird that Danny Boyle used, though, and I can't quite wrap my mind around, was every time he introduced a new character, he introduced them purposefully out of focus. Every character you meet, you're either looking at them through a piece of glass where they're purposely blurred or in soft focus in the background. Every time someone's introduced, and I was like, that's such a weird technique, purposeful technique.
I think when it came down to the beginning parts where it was new and everybody was filtered to that weird piece of glass and you're just like, why? I couldn't figure that one out. After a while, I just got deadened to it. But I didn't think it was really...
No, it's just a weird, purposeful technique. I'm like, why? Why? It didn't serve anything, I didn't think, as it went along. Anyways, what did you end up giving yesterday?
I give it a 4. I really enjoyed this movie.
Strong score.
It's one of the better movies of the year for me.
Nice. And we'll talk about that later on. But I gave it 3.5 out of 5. It was enjoyable. I think it was a better premise than it was a movie.
Okay.
Just there was a couple parts in there, but it's good. You know what I liked? I liked watching a movie where there's not bad guys. There's no super powered people. It was just a story about humans being humans.
Yeah.
I kind of need that every once in a while. There's no demons. There's no nothing else. Speaking of which, what do you have for us next on the Marquee?
Well, it's all demons. It's we have the third installment of the Annabelle series. This is Annabelle Comes Home, directed by Gary Duberman and written by James Wan. we're back to the house back in the late 70s of the Warrens. Lauren and Ed are going away for a little while. And
Even their daughter on her birthday.
They do this a lot.
It's her birthday, man.
It's her birthday. And they have to go away. And so they leave her with a babysitter. And babysitter's friend, who recently had a tragic loss, goes in. And, of course, mystified by all the things that could be happening here, and decides to break into where Annabelle and all the cursed objects are. The rest of this movie kind of plays out like Goosebumps, where you have every monster coming out. And this is very common to the Conjuring series and Annabelle, where they have to throw in one extra thing. But it's a little weird that all these cursed items are all centered around just Annabelle, and some of these things
the ringleader.
are like a werewolf. It's like, what is the cursed item?
It did feel very much like Goosebumps when the werewolf came out.
You have a werewolf in here, and you have a whole host of
Of course,
monsters.
the doll is the ringleader, just like Goosebumps.
Yeah, it's weird. It's Goosebumps for adults and no humor like with Jack Black.
Yeah, so I really like McKenna Grace as little Judy Warren, and I like Madison Iseman as Mary Ellen, the babysitter. I thought they were cool together.
Yeah.
You have the friend that comes over that unleashes the evil locked in the house. Her snooping just infuriated me. Daniela, Katie Sarif. It just infuriated me. Like, you basically break into this house and then just start snooping around, knowing that there's things going on in this house, and you break into the locked room. Now, what I do like is, with all of these Annabelle movies and Conjuring movies, I'm always interested in this room when they show it, when they're putting Annabelle in there, they're putting whatever. I'm like, oh, what else is in there? Now we get a long look at it. You get to see the demonic telephone and the TV that gives you spoilers about your life and things like this. But you get to see all these artifacts, and I kind of dug that. And I like McKenna Grace as Judy, who kind of has her mother's intuition, and this little girl is really the one that has to save the day. And it's kind of interesting. The Warrens are only in this movie for 10 minutes, maybe total, front to back. I never quite understood. Did they ever explain? There's also a young boy played by Michael Cimino. His name's Bob's Got Balls.
Yeah.
We ever explain that?
Well,
there was many different iterations of why, but
I think he was just thrown in so that there's a little bit more.
I'm just wondering about the
house.
nickname.
Oh yeah, he was a guy who when he was in school.
That was his story.
Yeah,
that was his story. That was.
I think that's it. I think that is it.
I like this movie. It feels authentic. First off, the house felt very authentic to the time period. Everything in it felt like, I had that house.
Oh yeah.
It picks up directly after the first Annabelle movie. I liked it. There's some decent scares. I like the leads in this movie. It fits in with this universe for me.
It's the second time they left that girl with the doll in the house all by themselves.
They don't care. They don't care about her. They want that doll to get her soul.
We're sorry, Judy Warren, if you're watching the show.
Yeah.
It was terrible that your parents did this to you.
What'd you think of Annabelle Comes Home?
I liked it. I gave it a 3, but I don't think this is really serving story purpose anymore. It's just trying to showcase more monsters, so the next movie we have more monsters. And I'm curious which one of the many.
Well, we have James Wan has Conjuring 3 and The Nun 2 on his next slate.
Oh, man.
That's on the slate for him in pre-production right now. So that's where we're going next with this franchise, it sounds like.
So he's not going to mess around with the Boogeyman or anything else that he kept on introducing?
I mean, right now it looks like this is the near future is these movies. I don't know what's coming down the line, but I was just checking out what else he has coming out.
Well, that Nun thing could
stop. I don't disagree. I agree with you on this, though. I gave it 3 stars as well. It's good.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's worth it, though. It's worth the watch.
It's worth the watch. There is a lot worse out there.
So as we've been talking about, sir, it is the start of the second half of the year, beginning in July as we record this. It's time to look back on 2019 so far, the films that we have loved the most. We each have 10 movies we're going to talk about.
Yeah, you got an extreme advantage over me. You do film festivals and stuff like that. You get to see all these things that may get Oscars later.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Why don't you go ahead and give me your bottom 5 of your top 10, as it were.
Bottom 5. Number 10, Detective Pikachu. 9, I Am Mother. 8, Pet Sematary. 7, Men in Black International.
International.
And 6 is Shazam. And Shazam's really, I mean, I like these. Shazam was.
Well, I hope so. They're in your top
special.
10.
Yeah, well, that's also a little bit to say about the run of movies we've been getting.
That's fair. So my 10 through 6, I have Long Shot, the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron comedy.
Okay.
I have what I think is the best documentary of the year, Apollo 11, about the moon landing. Pretty great stuff. I have A24's Under the Silver Lake as my number 8. I watched it this week. It's messed up.
Yeah?
It might move up if I watch it again. It is completely
Is
messed
it
up.
horror?
Kind of. It's weird. It's Andrew Garfield, and it's weird.
Ah.
My number 7 is High Life, Robert Pattinson's film that he had. And number 6, Three Faces, this really cool Iranian film, which I recently watched. So those are my bottom 5 of the top 10.
Very cool.
Your number 5, sir.
Number 5. I think this is probably in your top 5 as well.
You don't tell me what my movies are.
I know how you felt. John Wick, one of the best action films when it comes down to choreography. I wish this kind of wrapped it up, but this is just another chapter. Yeah. And even with the story aside, just watching this is absolutely beautiful. It is a beautiful film for something where everybody dies.
Right, exactly. Speaking of beautiful films, my number 5 is a film that I reviewed earlier this year called The Burial of Kojo. It is the most beautiful film that I've seen this year. It is gorgeous. Great performances as this young girl searches for her father. It's an incredibly underseen film. I believe it's still on Netflix. It was on Netflix for a while.
Is it more beautiful than Book Fu?
It is. It's just, man, it is just heartbreaking as this little girl goes through trying to find her dad. Just good stuff. So, anyways, The Burial of Kojo is my number 5. Your number 4.
Number 4 is a weird one because I just watched this movie and I didn't have time to process it like I do with all these other movies. I'm still hooked on Yesterday.
Wow, top 4.
Just singing Beatles songs all the time, and I like the sci-fi premise of it. I like thinking of this world that was missing things. It stuck with me. Maybe if we made this list in a week, I would change my mind, but right now I have it as a solid 4.
That's where
I
we're
really
at.
like it.
We're at right now. That's all you can do.
That's
right
all
now.
I can do is right now.
That's
I
where it
love
sits.
Yesterday.
My number 4 is the film from Jordan Peele, Us. This is a film that really hung with me, made me go back and watch it a couple times. There's just so much packed in each scene in this movie, and it proved to me, and I think everyone else, that Jordan Peele is not just a one-hit wonder, that he is a real talent, and I loved what he got out of everyone in this movie.
I'm super excited for his Twilight Zone series coming out.
It's
I know he's just hosting it, but still.
He's managed to creep me out in 2 movies back to back. I like that. I like being like creeped out, not like gore stuff. Just like I don't like this. I don't like where I'm at.
You had Keanu and this one.
Right. Keanu creeped me out too. You're number 3, sir.
Number 3, How to Train Your Dragon. This was the 3rd installment that wrapped up the series. A beautiful animated series, one of the best. I would say.
I agree.
The stories are
not
phenomenal.
a bad one in there.
Not a bad one, and it's caring, it's loving, it's a good story. It's not just screaming at you because they're cartoon characters. It's a great series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that made it to my 3, and I think that's well deserved. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's nominated for best animation.
It'll get nominated. That and Toy Story and whatever else we get later on this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love it. It was a great bow on the end of the series, which is awesome. Where are we at? Number 3. My number 3 is Avengers Endgame, the capstone to a wonderfully told tale. Emotional, beautiful. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, it's back in theaters. It's going to be in theaters forever, I think, until they finally get that record.
It's historic.
It's one of the best superhero films we've ever seen, and it pulled off the near impossible of living up to expectations. Expectations couldn't have been higher on this movie.
No.
And it lived up to, if not exceeded, those expectations.
I was extremely shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, all the characters that they introduced still was able to give a story and a lot of heart.
Didn't feel rushed. I mean, they had 3+ hours, so.
True.
But yeah, that's my number 3 film. Your number 2.
My number 2 is Us, as on your list as well. Imagery, haunting. You will remember this movie. That's another thing that makes me love movies is if I could remember it.
Yeah.
And this is not something I'll forget. It's not like next year where I'll be like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, what was that one?
This,
especially with a generic title, could be one of those.
Yeah.
That I was like, Us, what was that?
No.
No.
This is, it's powerful.
It is.
I didn't really care for the ending that much, but It's creepy. It's cool. Makes me look forward to more Jordan Peele.
It's original.
It is.
I like that a lot. My number 2 is a movie that you and I vastly disagreed on when we reviewed it about a month ago. My number 2 is Booksmart, Olivia Wilde's directorial debut about 2 outcast high school girls who realize that they've missed out on so much. They go in search of the it party, and they find that it's not so easy to be accepted after they've been judging everyone else for the entire time they've been in school. I really, really love this movie. I've loved it more since, and I think I gave it like a 4.5 or something like that when we reviewed it.
Again?
I have.
Wow.
I really like this movie. I like this realistic portrayal of these teens and just the characters that they have in there. And I think that it's this generation's great high school movie. Like 10 Things I Hate About You was probably for the previous, and Can't Hardly Wait was before that. I think this is. I loved it. I know you didn't care for it, but boy, I think it's just tremendous.
I'm glad that you're glad.
You're right. Thank you. That's not patronizing at all.
No, it is not.
What's your number 1 movie, sir?
You've already mentioned this one, Avenger Endgame. It's history. It's 11 years of something coming up. It could have failed miserably, exceeded my expectations. I laughed, I cried, I thought it was great. What can I say? It was a great movie.
It was a great movie. Yeah. We have a coworker who has gone to see it 16 times now.
I bet I know who that is.
Yeah, he just went and saw it this morning for the 16th time.
That is a lot of hours.
That's 3 hours and change.
It is
every
a great
time.
movie. I've seen it, I think, 3 times.
Yeah, I have too, yeah.
But I am sure I'll see it again when
it's a great,
Blu-ray comes out.
Because I want to watch them. I want to put them together now. Infinity War and Endgame. I want to give my 6 hours and just sit on my couch and just knock out and watch that for 6 hours.
I want to try to do the entire library.
What are you doing?
I know. That's like suicide.
You're
It really
pull
is.
a muscle doing that.
I could.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, my eyes just pop right out. It's terrible.
My number 1 is one that you talked about earlier. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Impossibly exceeded my high expectations. I went into this expecting greatness and somehow got more than I wanted, which is awesome. Manages to both be campy in parts and serious, over the top but not stupid.
No.
And it breaks new ground in so many ways. A villain like we've never had before. We've never had a villain that was a big old fanboy of our hero.
Yeah.
That's weird. Fight choreography that we've never seen before. Like I've said in the review, I love the realistic-ish use of running out of ammunition and things like that. Like I like little touches like that, and it's kind of the perfect vehicle for Keanu. These John Wick movies are perfect for him, and it also kind of launched the year of Keanu, where like he's just appearing in all these things.
Yeah.
And now we're releasing set photos of him and him on the set of the new Bill and Ted movie.
His career is really interesting. He had the Bill and Ted's, which launched him, and then he kind of faded, and then Matrix, and now
he
he
had
has
Speed and Point Break, and then it lulled through the 90s of the Matrix, and then another kind of lull.
Yeah.
And now he's all the way back, and people can't get enough of him.
No.
I love it. So anyways, that's our list of the best movies. We look forward to at the end of the year seeing how many of these remain on our best of the year list. It'll be curious to see. Before we move on, though, let's get into. Look, it's still summer. We're talking about it's July 4th holiday week, so it is always time for summer camp. Let's talk about our camp throwback this week. Look at that. It's just lovely. I just want to sit around that fire.
Thank you, Mara.
It's great. And we are going back to camp this week with Addams Family Values, 1993's sequel to the Addams Family movie. This is the one where the Addams Family, they hire a nanny to take care of young baby Pubert because Pugsley and Wednesday are trying to kill the baby.
That's love, though.
It really is.
Addams Family, that is love.
It is. I kill because I care. The nanny, Debbie, played by Joan Cusack, she's a lady who marries rich bachelors and then kills them for their inheritance. Well, we have ourselves an eligible bachelor within that mansion. Uncle Fester is our guy. Meanwhile, the kids, Wednesday and Pugsley, are sent off to Camp Chippewa to kind of get them out of the way.
Which has some of the hilarious scenes.
Oh my God.
I laugh still to this day every time I see them do that pageant.
Yeah.
And
The Thanksgiving pageant.
Yeah, and Pugsley is eat me with it. Oh, I laugh every
That's
single
the
time.
best moment. It's one of the great, because here it is, they're at a summer camp. They're dealing with being ridiculed by the snobby girl Amanda.
Yep.
And then you have the two hyper perky camp counselors who just want to make this show happen. And of course, we'd be doing a Thanksgiving pageant in the middle of summer vacation. And Wednesday is cast as Pocahontas, and well, she's not just going to let this go.
No.
Next thing you know, the set's burning down.
And she has a little love interest. Also, another one of my favorite quotes that I use almost all the time. Every time I see someone selling Girl Scout cookies, I have to say, are they made out of real Girl Scouts?
I like that. Mike's on a watch list somewhere for that.
It's such a fantastic movie.
It is a good time. I wouldn't mind going to Camp Chippewa. Looks like a fun time.
No, I would mind.
Yeah.
I would be Pugsley.
Come on.
I would be Pugsley.
Oh, man. All right, let's take a look ahead at what is coming soon, sir. The week of July 12th, we have a few movies. The first one is Crawl. You know what Crawl is? The one with that big old gator.
I am looking forward to this. Sam Raimi does not do bad. And I know he's just producing, but it kind of has that Schlotz.
There's a big gator coming down looking for you.
Yeah.
There's also the new movie starring Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani, Stuber. One of two movies this summer in which Dave Bautista is a cop who has to drag a citizen in to help him.
You have a G-rated one and an R-rated one.
Yeah, here's your R-rated one with Stuber. I like Kumail Nanjiani, so I'm looking forward to this a little bit.
Yeah.
You also have, in a smaller release, you have The Art of Self-Defense, in which Jesse Eisenberg learns Taekwondo and then goes out and uses it on people in ways that he probably shouldn't. Yeah. And then we also have a movie called The Farewell, which, as I'm speaking about it, completely blanked my mind what it's all about. We'll be talking about it, though, in a couple weeks.
We will. It's going to be great.
Best in the biz, kids. Award-winning show right here. So those are the films of July 12th. Before we go, it is the holiday weekend as we talk about right now. And Mike wants to give you a little public service announcement real quick.
Yeah, I want everybody to be safe, and I want everybody to have fun on 4th of July. But remember, there's a lot of people with pets and a lot of veterans that have PTSD. It's great that you get to explode things for America, but please kind of keep it on the days that we're supposed to be celebrating, because there's a lot of people that have to suffer through all these random explosions, and it's difficult for them. They become prisoners inside their own homes. And I just ask you, please, to be responsible and have a lot of fun and be safe, but also kind of think of other people that, how they have to deal with things.
Absolutely. And try not to blow your hands off.
Don't blow off your hands. You see what happened to this guy? There's a million reasons why that finger is gone, and one of them is 4th of July.
For sure. It was a holiday when I lost it, I'll say that. Before we leave, though, we want to thank our sponsor, Palace Cinemas, right here in Sun Prairie. Thank you, Marcus Theaters, for sponsoring our show. There's a lot of things going on down there right now. They have their own summer series of films going on that you should check out. You can go in there when it's 1,000 degrees seemingly outside. It's always cool inside their theaters. Get inside, get on a Dream Lounger. If you're one of those weirdos like my kids are who are cold in the 90-degree heat, you can push that button to turn the heat on. I won't be near you when you do that, though.
Sometimes during the summertime, I think the air conditioning kicks on extra hard, and sometimes I do get
Never
cold.
enough. Never cold enough. But thank you, of course, for sponsoring our program. Next week, we're going to be talking about films like Spider-Man: Far From Home. We also have A24's new horror movie, Midsummer. We're going to be going back to camp for a little movie called Heavyweights. And who knows what else.
Never seen Heavyweights.
Might be talking about maybe Stranger Things. I don't know. We got all kinds of things coming out.
Yeah, that's up in the air. We really don't know.
But you have to tune in to find out exactly what we're going to be talking about for a possible streaming spotlight next week. I can't wait. But until we meet again, I'm Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Have a good one.